Just keep fighting for me and keep showing your love and support.
Hello. That was my bad. Okay. Sorry about that. Also, considering the context of what I'm going to be talking about, I actually feel really gross playing that song before. I didn't realize it was that song. Because I have a bunch of these songs from when we were streaming music on Rally Day, and they're all labeled "We'll Be Right Back." So I really don't know which song is which at this point. But now that I know that particular song, I wouldn't have played that song. And the only reason why I say that is because, so I don't know if people watch things on YouTube other than our channel or any other channel. Like, I don't know if you guys are true crime people. I don't know, where you guys, come from and all that stuff. Like, so basically, I'll just give you why I'm going live today. Recently, so if you guys have heard what is the kid's name? Gannon Stach. I don't know if I'm saying that right. The backstory on this is, unfortunately, there was this kid named Gannon who went missing, and it turned out that his stepmother brutally killed him, and then left his body in a suitcase, and it was found in Florida. I don't know where they're from. I think I remember hearing it was like a long drive from where they're from to Florida too. So she did that, and then they found the poor child's body, and they arrested her, and she went to trial, and recently she was found guilty. So I'm not here to argue whether she's guilty or innocent, but one of the things that kind of made a big splash in the wrongful convictions community is not wrongful conviction community, but true crime community, excuse me, is there were two content creators on YouTube who both have their own Patreon who were able to access, so basically they FOIA'd, which is completely legal to do. They FOIA'd this 11-year-old boy's autopsy photos and then uploaded onto their Patreon, and made it so they charge basically $3 a month, so you can go on this Patreon and look at this severely murdered 11-year-old child, naked child. Some of them were saying, one content creator who received backlash from this was saying, well, I blurred out the genitals, and the other one didn't. So that kind of gives you some context as to why I'm going live right now, because it kind of brings up the same issue that I've discussed this before. I think like a year ago, like like the whole like what's appropriate and what crosses the line. And a lot of people, it's a debate right now because I've talked to quite a few different people who consider themselves researchers, and none of them are here. I don't think they're watching. Hi, but I did, you know, because in my mind I'm like, that's inappropriate. I would never be okay with taking anybody's autopsy photo and then uploading it onto a Patreon for you to pay for it. And for what reasons? Like, why? Why are you doing that? Like, just to make money, basically. In my mind, that's what it is. But then, you know, I discussed it with a few other researchers, and they've all said, well, I would have looked at them. Well, okay. I don't know. Like, it just seems gross to me. It just seems like an invasion of some sort of privacy, especially for a child. I don't know. And it made me really stop and think about, like, what the whole monster that we created in entertainment and true crime. And I've often struggled with some of that stuff before, where it's like, is this just entertainment, or is this being hey, Mind of Monsters, is this for entertainment, or is this being exploitive? Like, where is that line? Where is that boundary? Where do we have that at? You know, like I've been very opinionated about, like, for instance, and I'm really awful with names, but that Gabriel kid who in California, who was also murdered by the mom and stepdad, and they made that documentary on Netflix, Trials of Gabriel Fernandez. I watched like a couple of episodes on that, and I just didn't have any interest in it because I felt like this was just exploiting something to make money off of, like, some sort of entertainment, like off of this kid's death, and like, let's make it as what's it, sick, and, you know, all those details, and they showed, even I think they showed autopsy photos in that one too, in that documentary, didn't they? I think they did. I remember seeing something like that. You know, and I don't know. I just, because it's like, what did we learn at the end of this documentary about this kid? Like, what did we learn? Did it bring any sort of awareness that we already didn't know? Like, yeah, the CPS system sucks. Like, we know that. There's kids that are slipped through the cracks, but like, what exactly did it do? Like, did it bring awareness to something? Did it cause some sort of great movement? I don't remember that happening. I just remember people saying, wow, CPS sucks in California. You know, we still have, I know in Arizona, we still have issues with CPS. Like, there's still like more kids than there are, you know, agents or whatever, like, and there's tons and tons of cases, and it's just, so, you know, did that documentary do anything? Was it meant to do anything? Was it meant for Netflix just to get money off of? Photos were being shown at trial. In my opinion, the state should not release those FOIA, or not underage should. Right, you know, and that's the other question is that, so these were FOIAs, so that means that these were obtained through proper paperwork and legally. So nothing illegal has happened. I mean, I guess you can argue showing pictures of a minor nude could be considered, you know, crossing the line of illegal in a way, but like, that's the other first thing in my mind was, why didn't they seal those? Because you're right, it's an underage child. They should have, in my opinion, they should have sealed those pictures because it was a child. It's different, I guess, if it was an adult. Not saying that I'm okay with adult autopsy pictures, being shown. But, this is a child. This was an 11-year-old boy. Not illegal. Just say, yeah, I agree. And that's kind of, we talk about this sometimes in Stephen and Brendan's case. Sometimes I make my opinion known on certain things, and then I do get yelled at when I make my opinions known because it offends people. But my opinions are just that. They're just opinions, right? They're like assholes. Everyone's got one. I have an opinion. And, we've talked about on this channel, like what I feel is appropriate for a supporter versus what might be inappropriate for a supporter. Like the controversial live where I talked about going to Brendan's prison and taking a selfie in the parking lot. Is that appropriate? Is that supportive of the supporter to do? Or is that just inappropriate, could cause trouble, and, whatever? Like, obviously I've made my opinion known on that. But it's kind of in the same area of like, it just because it's legal doesn't mean that it's okay. And just because that you can do something doesn't mean that you should do something. And I don't know, like I struggle with this because at one hand I'm like, well, what good does it do posting these kids' autopsy photos for people to look at and research? What are you researching here? That's my big question, I guess. Anybody who's listening who is interested in the Gannon case, what exactly are you researching here? Are you trying to prove that the stepmother is guilty or innocent? Are you trying to, like, what exactly is, because like for like Brendan's stuff, I research it to continue to find something that could help him, to free him, because we know he's innocent, and there's tons of stuff out there that we're still discovering that show that, like my live I did with Jinx on Sunday, even though that was just a little thing that we researched in Jinx FOIA, it still showed that there was something shady going on, and that need, look more into that or keep digging or whatever. But like, for a lot of these cases, like this kid, this Gannon kid, what exactly are your end goal here? What are you doing here by posting these things? What are you trying to prove? And I guess that's maybe what it all boils down to, is that what is your intentions? Is it just to make $3 off of people so they can look at these photos in your Patreon? Or was it actually, and I've heard one of the content creators make a statement, because I do listen to this content creator. I will admit I listen to her because I think she's humorous in a really ironic, stupid way. Like, I don't listen to her to take her seriously. But, I've listened to her defend herself saying, well, I'm bringing awareness to this. Well, what? What exactly are you bringing awareness to? We know that kids are murdered and abused, and we know that this horrific thing happens all the time. And what exactly are you bringing awareness for? Well, and then she said, if I had a kid who went through this, I would want people to talk about it, so the case can stay alive. Well, I don't think that's true at all. I think that if you had a child that died a horrendous way, you would want to remember them by the good ways and not by the horrific ways, especially if you felt like there's closure in that case, right? Like, I don't want to defend, or I don't want to say that I understand. Well, I don't mind saying it, actually. It's kind of like with the Hall box. I'm gonna be real honest and put that out there. In the Hall box mind, they think that the real killers are in prison, and we all know that that's not true. And we can argue all day on whether or not they actually feel that way, but also at the end of the day, that they probably do feel that way. And that's probably why it bothers them that we continuously defend Stephen and Brendan, which I totally get. But Stephen and Brendan are innocent. You know what I mean? So I get where the victims' families are coming from, and I don't think that I just don't think that if nobody out here thinks the stepmother is innocent, like the two content creators think the stepmother is guilty, then I'm like, okay, discuss what you know about the case, but why are you continuously dragging out more shock value content? That's not helping anything other than your bank accounts. Talking about a case is not the same as posting what I feel is private photos that his mother should never. Right. I agree. Mind of Monsters. I absolutely agree. And I think I read somewhere too on Twitter, the grandmother of this kid made a statement saying that the family's devastated. Like the grandmother is just like, we're all devastated that this is even happening. Like, who are you guys helping in this when you do that kind of stuff? It's to pull people in because of shock value clicks. Yeah, exactly, Carol. You know, that's exactly it. This topic always like bugs me sometimes because I enjoy true crime. I do. I'll listen to true crime. I'll listen to the stories. I like that chapter. I like there's this one lady from England named Danielle. I like listening to her. I like listening to that Bailey lady. You know, I enjoy listening to 30-40 minute stories on certain true crime things that happen. You know, so I'm not shy in saying that. I don't understand though why there are certain people out there who grab onto something and then make like 30 lives about the same information over and over again. They just got justice now, closure is ripped open again. Yeah, exactly. I think, you know, and it's like I just said earlier, it's like, you know, at what point, when is it, just because it's legal to do doesn't mean that it's okay to do, and just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something, right? I mean, even I've learned that in what I do. Just because I can do something, you know, doesn't mean I should. Especially on this channel or as, you know, sport or whatever. Like, we're all learning and we're all growing, but like, I don't know. And like, I often think to myself, would I, if even in the cases that I'm involved with, like Brendan's case, if there was autopsy photos of Teresa, would I look at them? Maybe. Would I post them online? Absolutely not. You know, there's another case that I follow, Adnan Saeed. He was recently released and shown innocent, but now unfortunately he's heading back to court. And his lawyer, one of his lawyers, she made a statement actually a little bit ago because a different podcaster who has a beef with her, and sometimes they go back and forth on Twitter, and this guy posted the victim in that case's autopsy photos, and she made a comment how gross that was, and she would never, because she just felt that it wasn't important to do, or it would just hurt the family more. And you know, I kind of agree with that. I don't think on a public forum they should be openly available. But as somebody who does research Brendan's case and Stephen's case, you know, like I said, would I, if I had access to them, would I look at them? Maybe. But would I but would I post them anywhere? Absolutely not. I think I don't think people understand how autopsy photos even look. It's not like at a funeral home where they're dressed up nice and they look decent either. It's actually pretty, in a way. It's very medical and needed, but if that's your family member laying on the table, it can look really insensitive, and it could be really scarring. Thank you for stopping by, Mind of Monsters. I loved your input on this. Because, yeah, you have a photo autopsy from family cases I would never share them. Yeah, you know, it's just, I feel like that's just the unspoken rule of researching, maybe. Maybe I just come from, you know, where me and Mind of Monsters come from is the same area of, like, there's just certain things you don't do when you're a researcher. You also vet the information that you have. You know, when you research these things, sometimes you find out things that I was like, damn, like, that's pretty shocking and unnerving and whatever. And then you kind of have to weigh it, like, is this going to help the case, though? Does this have anything to do with the case? You know, I understand if it's information. Hey, Darkside. I understand if it's information that needs to be put out there, whether it's positive or negative towards, you know, what's happening. But if it has absolutely nothing to do with what's happening, it's not going to help, nor is it going to hurt, but it's just, it doesn't do anything good for them, then you shouldn't, then, you know, if you're putting it out, then are you putting it out to get more attention, more clicks, more views, more what? Or are you doing it because, I don't know, you know? There's been times, even in this case, I've like, was that a necessary thing to put out? Because it didn't help anything. It didn't prove anything, you know? So, I don't know, it's just, I guess it's a question of morals. It's a question of morals, and it definitely shows what you're really about on here if you do certain things. You know, if you go and do certain things just because you get some sort of attention for it, or you get your views and your clicks and your PayPal donations and blah blah blah, and then that just shows what you're really here for. You're not here for the victim. You're not here for justice. You're not here for the truth. You're here for views and clicks. I guess that's just my opinion on that. But yeah, hopefully, I haven't looked for those photos, by the way. I have absolutely no interest in seeing them. Like I said, I'm not uncomfortable with death. I've seen, I mean, I've worked in healthcare. I've worked in a nursing home. I've seen a lot of different kinds of stuff. I've seen a lot of different kinds of autopsy photos myself. I'm not saying I'm uncomfortable. It's just different when it's a child, I think. Like, for me, it hits me different when it's a kid versus then when it's an adult, I guess. So I personally have absolutely no interest in seeing these photos. I'm kind of questioning why a bunch of people would want to see a child's autopsy photos like that. I don't know. And that might be me just judging, you know, and I don't mean to offend anybody listening, but like, I just feel like it doesn't sit right with me. And I kind of like, why would you want to look at that? I don't know. Like, if you want to research more, you know, you can look up the coroner's report that doesn't have the photos attached, that where they actually break everything down. You know, I don't know. It's just different when it's a kid, in my opinion. Like, even that one teenager who was killed and then rolled up in his mat with his shoes, and that's how they found him. And the parent, I believe he was murdered. 100%, I believe he was murdered. And one of the things his family did was put his autopsy photo of his face out there, and they put it on T-shirts and stuff, and it was really alarming. But like, I understand why they did that, because they wanted to make a point of, this is what these people did to my kid. But I don't know. But they also didn't put it behind a PayPal wall, and it wasn't by a complete stranger who's just trying to make a buck on their channel. That was more of a political statement, you know what I mean? So I don't. But I do agree. I think the law needs to revisit in regards to minors in all aspects, like as far as questioning, because as we know that they're going through different places and they're questioning, or they're going through laws about changing how you question minors during interrogations and stuff like that. Like, you know, so that's happening, and I do think that there should be some sort of sorry, I just got a message and it just caught me off guard. I do think that, you know, like, I do agree with that, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Is I do think that there needs to be reevaluating of that. Hold on. So, I don't know. I'm just sad for the kid in the family right now. You know, they just got justice in a way. The stepmother was found guilty. I don't know why people are arguing against that, but I was hoping that, and I think she's gonna come by, because she was just messaging me, and that's why I was like, I'm live. So she's like, oh, I'll come by. There she is. See, so I was wanting to actually hope that oh, she's do you want to come up, Jinx, and talk about what we're talking about? Because I would love to have, hold on. Bah! Copy. I'd love to have a more professional researcher's opinion on this. And I respect your opinion. I respect a lot of y'all's opinions, so. But yeah. But that's what I wonder, sometimes I wonder too, when I see these sorts of cases, are there actual people out there that support the stepmom and think she was framed or whatever? Like, there are people who think that Jodi Arez is innocent. Isn't that weird? And I sit here supporting Brendan and Steven, which I know a lot of people are like, isn't that weird? But like, I don't know, like, I remember Jodi Arez's thing. She admitted to doing it. It was just the context of why, and was it self-defense or whatever, you know? But yeah, it's just, I don't know. I guess is anybody who, like, I don't know if you all know this case that I'm even talking about, but does anybody believe the stepmom is innocent in this case, or is everybody pretty much, because the two content creators, like I said, that are posting these autopsy photos. Oh, there she is. who they both admit that the the mother is guilty. So it's like, I don't understand. Hey, Jinx.
Hello.
So we kind of talked about this yesterday, you and me in a group chat.
Mm-hmm.
What is your opinion on? Because you're a researcher, so you FOIA things and you research things. I don't know if you've ever actually looked at like autopsy photos of anybody, but
I have. I don't know if you recall gore.com or whatever that was that it's even on the Dassey computer stuff, but I used to look there. I've seen some autopsy pictures like of John F. Kennedy, Marilyn Monroe, some of the famous people's autopsies.
Yeah.
I don't know. See, as a researcher, I would, if I'm researching something like pictures can tell you 1,000 things, right? Like,
right.
Sometimes they see something in a picture many, many years later and they help solve a case, right? So in that regard, I say, okay, then maybe you'd want to look at the pictures. But in this case, it seems like the woman basically admitted in a way that she was guilty of it by pleading insanity, right?
I mean, I don't 100% know if that's accurate. I just kind of some of it, because like I said, I watched that chapter episode of this like a long time ago before she was convicted of anything, and I remember him mentioning that she might have maybe tried that, but maybe they didn't go through with it. I don't know. Like, well,
she had convicted though, right? I mean,
yeah, she was convicted.
Where we work in a wrongful conviction community, it's like I like to see all the evidence for myself. Would I put it on a patron to make some money? No. If it was me, I would put it in my drive and say, if you want to look at it, caution, blah, blah, blah. But to me, it seems like, from what I was gathering from what we were talking about the other day, is they believe that this woman's guilty. I don't know what the point would be to get the photographs of the child.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like,
and then charge people for them to make a few bucks.
Right. That's why I was saying, like, I don't know anybody out there who thinks this woman is innocent to even want to look at and then maybe study it to see like if things match up. Because like I said, what if Teresa Halbach had autopsy photos? Would you look at them?
Of course I would.
Yeah, I would too. Now, would I post them anywhere? Probably not. I don't know where.
At the same time, I think, like, for me, it was like the information highway is a big thing in this community with Stephen Avery. Like, if it wasn't for the crowdsourcing, we wouldn't have as much as we have today for Avery's case, and then everybody else doing their own and contributing. So for researchers, they want to, for me as a researcher, as hard as it would be to look at something like that, I would want to see it anyway.
Right.
Just because it especially if they're talked about in records, and you want to make sure that the records are matching up what the autopsy photos look like or what the autopsy reports are saying. There's things like that, like, or they don't catch something like a bite mark or something like that they might not have seen that are marked down. You might see it in a photograph and then be like, well, why wasn't this marked down by the coroner or by the medical examiner or something like that, So, like, in a way, I kind of understand wanting to see that stuff, because as a researcher, I would want to see everything. But at the same time, the charging of it on Patreon and it seems like it's only being used in this way to make money, and it seems a little wrong. But I don't know what these YouTubers, I don't know them, so I can't really give an opinion on them in general,
Right, yeah. Well, and I know of only one of them, because like I said, I like to watch her because I think she's hilarious in a non-hilarious way. Like, I don't think she intends to be, but I laugh at her.
I get you. I get you.
You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean.
Yeah.
I know what you mean very well.
Yeah. So, like, I do, because it is entertaining for me, but like, I don't know. And this person, I don't know the other I've never heard of the other person before in my life, so I don't know. Apparently one of them is extremely popular on here for the true crime content. I've never heard of them.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I only
And
know
then-
my close friends, really. Like, otherwise, it's like.
Well, other than like the few that I mentioned, like that chapter, and that Bailey chick that does the makeup and Murder Mondays.
Yeah, you told me about her.
Other than like those people, and then like the people like in our little community, obviously, but like, yeah. No, I don't know. And like, I guess maybe what's really a pause for me is also this kid's age is like 11, and it's different than like if it was a grown adult autopsy, I guess. I don't. It's just
different that this is a case that has been supposedly solved, right? Like,
right.
we have no reason to believe that there was any nefarious business going on that she would have been framed, do we? So, like, I don't know what to make of it. It's hard because sometimes you want to just trust the cops did it right, but then you want to make sure by looking at the stuff.
Oh, see, so like I was right. She said the forensic psychologist explains unusual not guilty by reason of insanity plea. So she did try that.
So she basically admitted, I killed him, but I'm nuts. So let's just
But
call
I did it
let's
when I
call it a
was
nut job doing
in
something bad.
of my claims mental illness. Claims mental illness in newly released letter. So that's basically why she.
I mean, was she coerced into saying that in that letter? I mean, I don't know.
See, that's what I don't know. See, and us as the wrongful conviction community looks at these things kind of sideways anyway, because we're always like, well, was this coercion? What did they make her say this? Like, let's see the evidence. Like, so I do get that.
Right. And we're like, let's see the evidence. And this just happens to be part of evidence. In that case is the autopsy pictures or whatever.
Yeah. But she does say she did it. She's just, she claims that she was mentally incapable of knowing. See, so the thing with insanity plea, by the way, is it's really hard to get because you have to prove that you still don't know the difference between right and wrong. So it's not
or you
just
didn't during your psychosis.
Right. What during your psychosis, though, which you didn't realize what was right and wrong.
Right.
Because you could be schizophrenic and kill somebody and still know that killing somebody is wrong.
Right.
So the biggest case that I could think of off the top of my head that actually succeeded in an insanity plea was Edward Gain, the serial killer.
Yeah, I remember him from Wisconsin too.
He's the only one off the top of my head that I can think of that succeeded in that because he literally could not tell the difference between what he was doing was right and wrong. And he literally thought he was doing the right thing because his dead mother was telling him to do it.
Yeah.
So
question too. He was either really good at faking it or I don't know.
And in that case, it's not like they're like, oh, I'm sorry, you can go home then. No, I mean, you go to a mental hospital, a state mentally hospital. Like, you don't get free or anything. You just don't go to prison. You go to a state prison or a state mental hospital. So you're not off of anything.
But they can get out of the institution, right? If they can.
No, what happens is actually, believe it or not, is if you get insanity and then you go to a state hospital and then they deem you well, then they put you to trial again.
Oh.
See? The insanity plea only helps to avoid, a guilty sentence because they feel like you're not competent enough to stand trial.
That's interesting.
Isn't that interesting? See, you don't escape from anything. If anything, you prolong it.
And Lori Vallow tried that, right? Being mentally incompetent for several months before they put her on trial.
Yeah, they also reevaluate you every so often. So like Edward Gain or whatever, he was reevaluated like on a schedule.
Like probably
Yeah.
yearly or something like that.
Yeah. And he
Every
just happened
6
to
months.
die in prison because it's just, well, he was really mentally ill. Like, hey, Darkside, welcome back. But yeah, that's one of those things about yeah. I kind of did a paper on it in psychology in college a long time ago, many moons ago.
Oh, did you? That's interesting.
Yeah.
You'll have your paper.
No,
Publish that. Oh, what the hell?
no, that was like when I was 20. I'm 36 now. What do you? I don't have that
Only
stuff.
16 years ago. That's not too long ago.
It was forever ago for
It
me.
probably flew by like a zip line. Zip, 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 zip.
Yep. That's right. Zip. Shoo. Next thing you know, I'll be 60.
Oh,
Ugh.
jeez.
But yeah, no,
I'll be 65 or something.
I'll be shopping for a walker. But yeah, I don't know. Like, it's just, I guess it's just crazy. I don't know. And like, I don't know why people are invested in, I don't know. I kind of side eye the people also who bought the $3 Patreon thing just to see this kid's picture, autopsy picture. Like, I don't know. I kind of side-eyed that too. Like,
wait. So the autopsy, how was he found? He was found in a suitcase or something?
yeah, he was found in a suitcase.
So then the autopsy pictures probably show them taking him out of that and everything like that. That's just,
yeah.
I don't know if I'd even want to look at that even as a researcher.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's different also when it's a kid. Like, it hits you different. And people, like, you know, like you said, like you've seen autopsy photos and you've been to funerals before, right? Oh, she dropped off.
Sorry, I got a message.
Oh. I know this is like, have you been to a funeral before with an open casket?
Yep, and I even kissed the dead person inside. On the forehead.
Okay. Well, you know, and so versus an autopsy photo, it's kind of like impersonal and gruesome, and
yeah,
they're
all you know, nicely makeup and everything is suit on, whatever they have for the dress when you have an open casket.
Yeah. And an autopsy is very raw and impersonal and almost insensitive in a way, but it kind of has to be. So I couldn't imagine seeing a child in that sort of position.
Yeah, that's a little harder to imagine. I've never seen like that.
Right. Well, you know, and like when I was younger, I actually wanted to work in a morgue. I wanted to be a autopsy person.
Oh, really?
Really? Yeah. Fun fact about me. I actually, because, you know, that kind of stuff doesn't necessarily bother me, but the kids stuff does.
Yeah.
Seeing kids like that, it bothers me a lot. And that's the only reason why I could never really like pursue that, is because you can't say, well, I'm not going to work on a kid. That's your job, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen, you know, a child even passed away like in a coffin or anything. But I have seen a person pass away. I've seen them in their you know, in the position that they passed away in before.
Yeah, I have too. Yeah. I said I've worked in a nursing home, so I've seen, you know, some stuff like that.
Was my neighbor? He drank himself to death.
Oh yeah, you told me about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, you know, we've seen stuff, but not like, I don't know. Like I said, I've never seen. I mean, I don't want to say I can't think of any actually kid autopsy photos I looked at, or anything like that been
There
involved
should
in.
definitely be a trigger warning for those who are going to Patreon to pay.
Well,
for
that
the-
you be aware of the fact that what you're going to be looking at is extremely heartbreaking and like horrific in a way. Like it's literally the stuff of parents' nightmares. You know what I mean? Like it's awful. It's awful. This
Hopefully
kid
the
got
parents don't. He has his father left, right? Like that was the father was in the military, if I remember right.
yeah. He has both his mom and his dad.
Oh, that's right. It was the stepmom. It was the stepmom. That was.
Stepmom
That's
does,
right.
Yeah. So he had both his parents are still living. I know he's got grandparents. His grandmother actually made a statement on social media recently about the autopsy photos.
Is that why they decided to go get them? Like, what prompted them to ask for them? Even I wonder.
I don't know. Other than just information that they just wanted to FOIA and they saw that it was available, so they got it.
I mean, good for them for FOIA and stuff in cases. I mean, of course, we always want to see the records for themselves. So,
Right.
I just don't know about, like in our community, anybody who's FOIAing stuff usually, sends it to the websites that will put them on there. Like, for instance, Foul Play has their website now with everything on it. Now that StephenAveryCase.org is gone, it's good that there's this. But they don't like charge people to go and look at the records. They are all there for people to do the research.
Right.
A lot of it was crowdsourced too. So like, it was like a crowd of people that decided to do this. And in a way, we kind of look at Teresa's autopsy pictures in a way, except with her, we only have bones, right? We see bones in a box. And bones on a piece of paper and the facial bones put around to make it look like a face, like we see that kind of thing. However, if she was an actual person that was not burnt, I would want to look at those photos. I would, just because of everything I know in this case.
Like if it was Teresa's, then absolutely I would, because we are working on Stephen's. But I guess the question is that we wouldn't be selling those photos.
No.
In our community, like you said, we posted on a accessible website where everyone has access to it, where all the researchers who are involved can access it. And there's no charge.
It's not about the money; it's about finding the truth, right? So that's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
But for these people, they put it behind a paywall, and that's where I think it feels more gross too. Because Foul Play doesn't charge you to look at their information on their website; it's very free. Mm-hmm. They appreciate donations, but it's not.
And those are set for more FOIAs. So
yeah, and it all goes back into what they're doing. Right. And it's in most of the Facebook groups are kind of the same way, like when you post, like, yeah, I'm not allowed in some of them for different reasons, but like it's not like it's like the group you mod, people are welcome in there and to exchange information and all that stuff.
No, I have rules.
Well, no, but you know what I mean. No, you know what I mean, though. Like, people that didn't make your list are welcome to and access information and talk about it and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Here's a good question.
Plus, I'm in a Facebook group where my posts are publicly posted. And
so here's an interesting question then, just for shits and giggles. If Teresa Hallback had autopsy photos and we had access to them, would you put those up in your Facebook group?
Yeah, probably.
All right.
I probably would, just because I don't think it's fair to like look at something, make some, observations or theories on something, and then not actually give people the evidence that gives me the ideas for these theories or opinions or speculations. You know what I mean? So like, I get it from a research perspective. Of course, you want to see everything that's out there, everything that the police saw, right? Like, I want to see what they saw. I want to see everything that the investigators saw so that I can, and everything the lawyers saw. So for me, I can see why people would want to see them. But at the same time, this is a kid, and I don't know if me personally would want to.
Right.
Especially, and it would go by case. Like, do I need to see this case's kid? No, I don't. I'm not invested in this case. I don't know really much about it. So for me, I can't really give an opinion on whether or not they would be helpful in a research perspective.
Right. Because I know in our area of research with Stephen and Brendan, it would be helpful if we had Teresa. It would be more than helpful if we had Teresa Hallback's autopsy photos, or
even just her body.
Right. Even just the photos that they claim that were left in the fire pit, that we don't even have photos of those. We just have photos in a box, like you said earlier. So, like,
had they graded the pit and were pulling bones, I'd want to see those pictures too.
Yeah, we haven't seen any of those pictures. So, I mean,
because they didn't do that here.
Well, yeah, that's because they came in a box and they left in a box. But yeah, we're actually trying to discover the truth in something that has been manipulated, lied, and coerced over. Well, you know, a lot of these true crime cases, though, and because we're talking about true crime community where things have already been, you know, discussed and put to trial and all that, and
sometimes,
and yeah, sometimes, and it's not necessarily a question of if they're innocent or guilty. It's just that here's what they did,
right?
You know, for entertainment value, basically.
I think if there was more trust in the community for the police, that just seem to be more and more corrupt every single time you look at things, we wouldn't maybe need to see all of that stuff because we could trust what they did. But the problem with this case, like in this case, we see that the cops can be manipulative, coercive, corrupt, planting, things like that. So it makes it hard to think, you know, I mean, there's good cops out there, but to me, I would still want to test the evidence, I guess.
Right. Well, and I guess that if everything was done 100% by the books and how it should be, then then a lot of agencies wouldn't mind you going over the evidence anyway. And
it seems like they don't mind giving these autopsy reports. So that says something too, I guess. You know, like something like that, we probably would not. We'd be denied. Just like we don't really have any pictures from the lab, right? Who did a lot of the, you know, like they're part of that, you know, like the labs and all of that, like was Leisenberg who supposedly did the autopsy or whatever. So like those are all under the Wisconsin Department of Justice system, like department. So like it's very hard to get even some of those records from the lab as it is.
Yeah.
So
we're working.
Maybe the fact that they release those autopsy pictures at all says something about their case being very on point, you know?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Because we struggle just to get anything in our side of things. But we're, like I said, though, it's like two different, you know, we're working on wrongful convictions, and they're working on just in general true crime where, you know, things are just, you know, they're solved and all that. And they've got the right person. I mean, there's no denying this woman did it. She did it.
I mean, there are some things in this case that we're working on, Brendan's case especially, that people don't want to hear. And it is evidence in the case, and I get it. Like, for instance, his calls to his mom and all the Brendan calls. There were some nuggets in there that actually gave some speaking points, like with, what's her name? Anjanette Levy, who did an interview with Brendan that was on those calls. There are little nuggets in there, but it's like, I get it. Some researchers just rather, like, I don't know, they it's sad listening to a lot of them, but at the same time, they have information in there that could help the case. So for me, I've been listening to them. I mean, I don't,
right.
And I'll post them. I'll post them on my personal pages where I can, because not a lot of people want to look at that stuff. How about like Teresa's journal? You know, none of the Facebook groups wanted Teresa's journal in there. They thought it was too personal to Teresa. But this was a piece of evidence that was collected and noted in the case file, that the curiosity of what was in that journal, and we have no real victimology for her, that I thought that people would want to read it just to get to know her a little bit.
Right.
You know?
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
And there are a little nuggets in there that are interesting. Like she had thought somebody was her soulmate just 2 months before she went missing. Nobody ever talked to this man. So that's curious. You know, it's like there's things that, you know, it might be hard to do because she's the victim and you feel like you're invading this victim's privacy. But at the same time, she's gone and somebody murdered her, most likely. And the answer might actually be in the journal, and you won't know unless you read it.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. It's hard, I guess, because, you know, you want to have some sort of sensitivity towards the victim and the family and
right,
and friends and stuff, and but also at the same time, the truth is the truth, and sometimes it's not pretty, and it puts, you know, the victim in a bad light, maybe, or embarrassing or whatever. But at the end of the day, it doesn't change that they're a victim, and that there's a case that needs to be solved that has gone ignored for way too long. So
on that note, I can see why you'd want records, but if they believe this case has been solved and everything is legit, why bother getting these photographs? That's
right. And then that's what I was just going to say. You know, again, we're talking
about, and then sell them on your page.
Yeah. Again, we're talking about what a wrongful conviction case versus a just typical true crime case, where
or just a murder case. Basically.
It's just, unfortunately, yeah, it's just a murder case that involves a child where people, and I mentioned that Gabriel Hernandez kid. Remember that documentary that came out?
Yeah, where the Department of Human Services should have taken better care with that kid.
Right. I personally felt like that documentary that Netflix did was just exploitive and used to make money off of this kid's death, because at the end of the day, what exactly came out of that documentary other than what we already know? Yeah, CPS sucks.
But not everybody knew that. Unless you're with CPS or have had people who have dealt with CPS, what does one really even know about it?
Yeah.
Maybe that is good for the world to know that CPS failed at their job and that there needs to be corrections in there.
Yeah. I guess I felt personally it was exploitive, because if I remember correctly, they showed autopsy photos in that documentary of the kid.
Did they?
And he was younger than the Gannon kid, I believe,
but
right?
They do that with all of these docuseries for true crime. You know, like Cold Case Theory. Cold Case used to show, autopsy pictures and stuff like that. So, like, I don't know what would be appropriate or not.
Right.
And what is their message? These cold cases, or, I guess they solve a cold case after many, many years, but there's other, ID shows that just show this stuff because they're talking about true crime. Nothing more than that.
Yeah. I have another question. Somebody mentioned, I think it was Carol in the chat.
Sometimes they just fake and dramatize everything. So, you got to be careful there too.
Well, Netflix wants to make money at the end of the day. That's what all these documents
realize, that these true crime docuseries make them money after making a murder. Does that mean making a murder exploited anybody?
I don't know. Do you think it did? That's a good question.
It drew attention to some of the issues that are in the society with the system.
Right. I mean, we all appreciate making a murderer, so I'm not trying to be sarcastic when I say that. But if it wasn't for making a murderer, a lot of us wouldn't be here, right? There wouldn't be a Brendan Talks channel.
And that's what I'm saying about but somebody might have seen the Gabriel Fernandez thing and decided, I'm going to start looking more into the CPS to help change it. You can only
Right.
hope that that's what comes of these docuseries.
But going back to it, do you feel like on some level though, Making a Murder was exploitive to
No.
Brendan and to the family?
I like true crime, so I don't think so.
Yeah, okay.
I'm biased. Don't ask me.
No,
I'll admit it, I'm biased.
Because, like I said, I personally feel like the Gabriel Hernandez case or the documentary was exploitive. I felt like there were certain things of it that maybe could have been left out of the actual documentary.
Well, maybe there's things that could have been left out.
But
I don't remember the autopsy pictures.
And like I said at the beginning of this, opinions are like assholes. Everyone's got one. So like I'm just
call me an asshole, buddies.
Yeah, like I have an opinion on something, so there you go. But like I said, I don't know. Like it's interesting because I guess it's more of like, what do you feel for your morals and your ethnics and all that? Like I personally, ethics, not ethnics. I personally would think that certain things are exploitive. But, all right, I'm cleaning my desk at the same time as talking to you.
I'm trying to smoke a bowl. I literally
just got done with therapy. Carol says, man, you and your
my purple eggplant.
Yeah. Carol says MAM is a double-edged sword. I think there are some things about Making a Murder that was probably exploitive that, maybe, I don't know. It's hard to say because we're in a thing where all the information is needed. Every little thing adds to a piece of the puzzle for it. But like, I don't know. It's interesting.
Part of the thing with well, maybe not. I mean, in all, I mean, he's convicted of murder, right? And they both are. And
yeah,
the only way to look at, like, if it wasn't for them coming out with Ma'am, no one would we wouldn't be even looking for a truth.
Right. We wouldn't be here, yeah. So that's what I mean. Like I'm grateful for Making a Murder because first of all, I wouldn't have met you, I wouldn't have met Linda, I wouldn't have met Carol. There's a lot of people here that I truly treasure and I'm glad I met. Just like there's a bunch of people that I'm like, dang it, if I could have gone my whole life without knowing you. But but that's just the truth of it. But like also for Making a Murder, we wouldn't be here searching for the truth. We wouldn't be trying to free. Like Brendan would still be sitting in prison, not having friends. Making a Murderer brought him friends. He didn't have friends with a murderer. Now he's got a whole world full of friends. So, and I guess the same for, I don't know Steve's personal stuff right now, but I imagine he's got tons more support, like on the same level as Brendan with, letters and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's kind of the same, like, and I see Katie, sorry, in chat. Katie done it in chat, and she and I know she works on the Daniel Holtzclaw case, and it's kind of the same with her stuff. I'm sure because of them going out there and putting this stuff out there, now Daniel has more support than he thought he did. Because, I mean, if you want to hear about a case that was demonized, it's Daniel Holtzclaw's. I didn't know Stephen Avery existed before the documentary. I knew Daniel Holtzclaw did, though, because he was demonized in the media big time.
I don't think I really remember his case either prior to.
I remember
to Kathleen Zellner tweeting out, I think it was Michelle Malkin's series that she did on it.
Nah, I feel a little bit guilty with Daniel Holtzclaw because I remember the memes that were made about him when he was crying in court. I remember the news people making fun of him. Like, yeah, I remember, and I can't say I didn't, think along the same lines as they did before I realized he was innocent. You know what I mean?
Because that's what they push you to believe in the media, right? Like, they don't, you're not looking at every single piece of evidence that the jury got to see. They're probably talking about the day of this trial and so many things were said, but not everything, or, where they might have, said, let's listen to this outside the jury, things like that. You're not going to hear about on the news necessarily. So you're only hearing what the news wants to present to you. And if the news person is biased, which they're not supposed to be, but I think they are always, you get only one side of a story.
Yeah. But that's what I mean. Like, I feel guilty about Daniels because I remember all of that, and I remember thinking, I'll admit, I remember seeing the footage of him crying, being like, cry harder because he's a rapist. But then, later it comes out that he probably didn't, and all the way that the case was handled and all the evidence showing that he is innocent, So,
they came up with accusers by manipulating women with issues. Already has legal issues with the department and stuff. Let's manipulate them into being victims. Like, they're a victim of anybody. They're a victim. Some of them might be victims of other things, but I think some of them were just like, yeah, I'll just say I was a victim.
Yeah.
Just because I could sue later and get money, like, I almost feel like that's part of it.
Oh, most definitely part of it.
Why they would make a false accusation as they have.
Our country is very sue happy. Everybody wants to sue for something or another. Like, there's always like, oh,
I want to sue. I want to sue some people.
I know. Well, that's just that everyone is sue happy in America. Like, that's just part of, but everyone has the right to do that too. That's part of, anyone can sue anybody for anything. It's just a matter of whether it will go through in court or not. You know what I mean?
That's right.
So they kind of set it up like that so that way you can. But like, because everybody has
you and you and you and you, and I'm going to sue all the Sues.
Not me. I'm
just teasing.
Like, wait a minute.
I'm just gonna sue people named Sue because just because.
Traumatizing for me. Your name is Sue something. I'll see you in court.
I
don't know.
It's funny to sue people.
It's an interesting topic, and I don't know if there is a right or wrong answer. I just know. Oh, that's what I was going to ask you. Carol and Chet mentioned that there should be laws that protect minor children in these crimes for certain things to be put out there, like photos. What do you think about that?
No, I don't believe that. No, because what if a child was the victim of a crime and somebody's wrongfully convicted of that crime, and the only way to find out the truth is to look at the records of this minor person? What if it takes somebody else to look at that, to find a picture of an autopsy, to find an extra bruise that wasn't mentioned that looks like the shape of a shoe or a shoe print or something like that? Like, I think it should still be open, but people should be, I don't know how to word it. Have care when you're releasing them, like.
So, like, it goes back to it's more of an ethical thing. Like, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Maybe stop and pause and say, is this something that should be or could be out there? Or maybe it just doesn't need to be out there.
Well, right. But then who decides that, like then they decide, oh, well, this isn't good for anybody to read because my opinion is it's too personal to the victim. So then because that person's opinion, you have too many. I think if it's available for the public to look at, they should be able to, but you should have you should be ethical about it. You shouldn't just be like, yes, let me just post these pictures on a live, or let me have you pay for these pictures. Or I get it. Getting the pictures for them probably costs them some money. right?
Linda, I'm sorry,
We're
real
not
quick.
cheap. So I don't
Linda,
know if they're just trying to make their money back or what. Hey, Linda.
I want to hear Linda's opinion on this. So Linda,
Yes,
because she works in another different, so like we're wrongful convictions, not wrongful, yeah, we're wrongful convictions. We're also kind of true crime. You're missing persons mostly also, Jinx. And then Linda works with missing persons and missing children. So Linda, if you can come up here, I would love to know your opinion about the Gannon Statch. I don't know if I can pronounce his name correctly, but I want your opinion on what's all this is happening, because she's in the missing child thing. And I know her stance on certain things about, yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Well, like I said, using a child's thing to put behind a paywall to profit from it. Yeah, that to me seems, it's not just about the research or about what's finding the truth. It's about making a buck or two. But at the same time, I have to wonder how much money they put into these, that they, like certain people will have a paid channel and they use that money to put into FOIAs. So is that what this is going to? Are they just making a profit off of it? Are they using this money to do other true crime FOIA requests? That's another thing I'd have to ask, right? Like, because I can understand why somebody who's in the true crime who might not have money needs to have people pay to get the records that they got so that they can continue to do the work, right? Like, so there's so many different things here that I don't know them well enough to know what my opinion would actually be, but it does seem like from what I've heard and what you've said, that it does seem like they're only doing it to make a buck or two. And I don't know if that definitely.
I personally feel like they are, but that's like I said. Yeah, come on, Linda. I personally feel like they are, but that's because I know. Oh, she can't. Yeah. I know one of them is in it for the money. I don't know the other person. I never heard of this other person before, but I have heard of the other one. I don't want to say their names on here because I don't want to attract their haters and their supporters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But they, everybody who knows, and that's, it's important. But like,
I know I do, but I don't.
Okay, so here's what Linda
I know who you mentioned them, but I've never heard of them, to be honest.
Right,
so.
Yeah. We're just having this discussion in the missing persons community because they release autopsy pictures, very graphic. Ever minor child to be put a paywall profit over pain, disgusting. But I feel the court should protect minors in that case, other than I'm all for information. Yeah, see, I know Linda's about if it's information, then it needs to be put out there. Like, if it's the truth, then put it out there. Like, same way with Jinx, because there's a lot of things that we've come across that we're like, well, if that's the truth, then that's the truth. And then Linda says, I just gave it back to you. I can't come up because I'm on my phone. I'm not at home, but that's my view on it. Is very disgusting to charge someone to see that, especially when the trial is over. And they said it was for science. Well, she's not a doctor. She didn't have a doctor explain it to me. She's up tragedy pimping off of someone's pain, and I'm against it. Oh, and then she says Zov girl is the one that did that, and I think that's disgusting to do. There's no sense for it. It was done for clicks and views and money, and she charged money.
Yeah, that's wrong.
So, which I heard a rumor. I heard the latest is that particular person's.
Well, that's quite a bit of money for the FOIA.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is. Well, that makes sense if you think about a FOIA, though. If you think about the case files.
Well, yeah, pictures are going to probably cost you a little bit more, too, like depending on how you get them. If you're getting them if you're getting them printed out as photographs, they're going to cost you a little money rather than if they put them on a digital. If they will put it on a digital drive,
Right.
It might cost you a little less. However, they do get pretty pricey.
Yeah, I was going to say there's things in the Stephen and Brendan cases that we've pay, like the community has paid thousands
Oh,
of dollars.
it looks like Patreon banned her.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that Patreon banned that particular person, not the other person though that put it up, but this particular person. And I think the reason why they banned her, Zav Girl over the other person is because the other person, or Zav Girl, posted the genitals while the other person didn't.
Oh.
So
see, now, like,
she,
why would you post that? Why would you need to see that? Was there any damage done there? Like,
well,
you
in
as
my
a person looking at stuff before you post it out there, that's like child pornography that they just posted.
right. Well, that's what I was saying earlier. It's like, so if you have an autopsy of a child that's naked during an autopsy and you post it
Obviously,
on,
you have to have some morals, and if they're, if there's no evidence there, put a little black dot, a stripe across that area or something if you're going to release them.
right.
Do something to redact it in some sort of way.
Yeah, because you're kind of crossing into child pornography territory. And
Yeah.
I heard that, like, and this is going to sound really hard, like disgusting and gross, but the kid was left in a suitcase in Florida for like a month or two.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
So you can imagine the decomposition, the decomposing of that poor child and what they had left. So that's what you're looking at.
Yeah, that's, to do that just to make $1 is wrong. And and then not to do like a little bit of redaction if you can on certain things that have no evidentiary value. I would probably put a redaction of some sort on there, whether it be a black marker or something like that.
Yeah.
Not appropriate for internet, write that on there or something. I don't know. I mean, but if they're doing it just for the clicks and views and for a little bit of cash, then yeah, I'm not for that at all.
I'm not either. And like I said, I personally feel like they probably should have sealed his autopsy photos.
I'm surprised they even let that one out, like the one that you just mentioned, because that just seems a little,
I know of them both, and they're both nothing but a bunch of careless, don't care about nothing but money creators. That's it. Yeah, I mean, I don't disagrry with you on at least one of them. Like I said, I don't know the other one. The one that I do watch sometimes, and I watch ironically, it's all about her PayPal and Cash App in the link, and don't you worry about it, Shug. I have another fundraiser. And join my Patreon. Like that's literally what her lives are. 90% of them are. Like, Mods, drop my Cash App in the chat, would you?
Is that how she sounds? Because I don't even have any idea. I have no idea, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, she does the whole Shug.
From the South.
I said I watch her because she's funny to me in a not funny way. Like it's a joke to me. She's a joke to me. Like that's literally. She yelled at me once too. I was in chat with another creator, and she was up on panel, and she was talking about something that happened, and I made a comment that was unpopular to her, and she said, "Back at you." Sit the fuck down and shut up.
Back at you. Back at you.
Sit the fuck down and shut up. You don't know it. It's oh, I feel special.
Oh, you got your name set on a lie.
I got passed a little bit by her
in
on
an accent.
In an
accent.
Yeah.
Oh.
In a southern accent. Yeah.
Well.
But that's yeah.
Definitely different accent than my accent.
But that's yeah, no, I know that. Yeah, I mean, these particular two creators, I believe it was done for the money. It was done for the clicks. They don't care about the truth of things. It's not about real researching. It's about what can we do to get attention to our channels, to get people to join our Patreon, to get people to pay us and whatever,
That's just fucked up.
So I guess that's the difference between, I guess that's where the line is. It's the intentions behind why are you posting this out there? You know, is it to put the information out there so others can access it, to research it themselves, to spread
They're
the
not
truth?
really doing that because they're charging you $3 for your Patreon.
Right.
So if it was all about just letting the truth be out there, why ask for payment? And if you are asking for payment, why not say why you need the payment? Like, yes, I see it cost $400. Is that why you're charging people, to make back your $400?
$400, yeah.
Maybe it'd be better to do like a group fund me for records before you do it then, because
well,
now,
and that's what
now it just looks bad. I mean, if that, you know what I mean? It just looks horrible now on that
that's
regard.
what
like you're doing it only to get money.
Yeah, that's what Brendan and Stephen community does. We very often put out saying, hey, I want to get these records, but it's going to cost $500. Here's my PayPal, and people will help you. But then it's expected that you put that information out there
publicly
for the people who donated and not donated, because it's
just for everybody, so they can all see it. So we could all find little, like, somebody might read a record and miss something that somebody else caught, or, you know, so, and not everybody has money to donate. So why not just put it out there for everybody?
Well, that's what, you know, that's what we do in our community. It's kind of an unspoken rule almost, you know, like,
and then it all goes to foul play to put on their website. And then it all goes to foul play to put on their website, which you don't have to pay for, and you can see anything on there basically.
Foul play, you know, I'm having my own disagreements with them, but like most of all, they do have the most information out there, and they are very fair and generous with what they have, you know. They're very like, yeah, absolutely, take what you want. And, you know, if you have information, we'll gladly take it and put it up here too. So, you know, I appreciate them for that. There are sick people that like morbid pictures and just put them on the dark web to get their thrills. We can't stop that, nor we should change our FOIA laws for that, but I believe the judge should. Yeah, that's interesting, Linda. I think there are a lot of sickos out there that probably are into those kinds of stuff.
Why didn't the courts or the lab or whoever did the autopsy, who released the pictures to these people, why didn't they do a redaction on some of them? Like, I asked for pictures. Here's an example. I've asked for pictures from Colburn that were taken on November 5th. They gave me so many in black and whites. And then I said, well, I would like them in color. And they gave me more that they had in color than they did in the black and whites. And then I made it like, well, you know, this is a camera of so many pictures. There has to be at least 24 or 12 or whatever in each roll, blah, blah, blah. So that they ended up sending me a couple extra pictures. And I said, we're still missing some. And they said, well, those pictures are of nudity, in the sense that there is parts in there that they do not feel comfortable releasing those. And so, like, why couldn't they do something like that with these autopsy pictures, that they posted a picture with somebody, with a child's, you know, private parts showing?
Okay, so let's go back a little bit. So you requested photos from Colburn's work camera?
Well, from he took pictures on the 5th, and there's, you know, there's in discovery showing that, like, blah, blah, blah is pictures of from November 5th Colburn took, right? And there's so many pictures or whatever. Sometimes they put the picture number, sometimes they don't. So I asked for those because it was weird how they put it. Like, it sounded like it was like in the secret drawer but it was in the secretary's desk or whatever. So they ended up getting these pictures and sending them to me, but not. So there's a picture of like Jody naked, right? Like somewhere in that room. They will not send me that photograph. And I don't want to see it.
Well, no, nobody here wants to see that.
But there are some full nudity pictures that they won't release because of that, right? Because they're full nudes or of certain areas of private areas that they won't release them to me.
They probably took pictures of Steven's crotch, for instance, because they had to do a swab.
Well, not on the 5th. but there are some naked pictures on his desk they talk about, right? So
Right.
they probably took pictures of his desk that show the nudity of these pictures, and therefore they won't release them to me because I am
Wouldn't
just
that
an
be
average Joe.
funny if Steven had, like, this is off topic, but kind of, but like, wouldn't it be funny if that was, because that was like the early 2000s. So that's the version of a dick pic was taken with a Polaroid camera.
Wait, what?
I don't know. I'm like trying to, in my head, it made sense. But I guess instead of like, you know, how guys take a picture of their junk and then text it to somebody,
Yeah.
and back
Well,
then,
yeah, back in the
no,
day,
they
you didn't have text. You had Polaroids, right? Because you didn't have to
Right, so-
take them in and be like, here, you know, please develop all my dick pics for me. You know, at the Walgreens or the pharmacy.
That was actually another job that I wanted to do when I was growing up, just for
Just
the
snoopy and nosy.
for the Snoopy level of I wanted to work in the Walgreens pharmacy, the photo department.
I want to see everybody's weird pictures they take.
I want to see them weird pictures, and then
There is a weird movie called Photograph, I think it
called
is,
Photo.
and it's about somebody who does the photographs and then
Yeah,
stalks
it
the
had
family.
Robin Williams in it.
Yeah, Robin
and he-
Williams is in it.
I forget the names, like Photo something or whatever.
I think it's called
It was,
Photograph or photography or something.
Oh yeah,
That's it.
something like that. And he was the guy at like a
1 hour
convenience
photo. That's what it was
1 hour
called.
photo, yeah. And he actually became obsessed with this particular family since day one, like even before.
Oh my god! I'm gonna show you a picture of him. You tell me who he looks like.
Okay.
I'll put in the chat, the nosy chat.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah,
Doesn't
that
he
was
look
actually.
like Len? He looks like Len Kaczynski in that picture.
I need to get there, but I think I know what you're talking about. But yeah, that was one of Robin Williams' one of his first serious roles. I liked it. I thought it was a good movie. But
Put up that picture and let people tell me what this guy looks like. Tell me what Robin Williams looks like in this photograph of 1 hour photo. Put it up there. I'm gonna put it up there.
Oh yeah, share the screen then.
Hold on, I gotta open it.
'Cause you'll get there faster than me. I'm still waiting for.
Oh, let's select a window. Which window is it? Oh, it's not working for me right now.
Hold on. When you have almost 10,000 subscriber memberships, cash out. Wow. And then you're going to charge 3 people extra to see pictures that they could watch on trial. I think you're just in it for that. Yeah, I mean, if you have like that many subscribers in memberships, you know, that could be like $2-3 a membership, even 99 cents. That's like $10,000. That's $10,000 a month. You should be able to afford $400.
It up. Now I got a weird thing here. I'm gonna have to.
Hold on, I'm getting there.
Don't put this in. I'm gonna try again. Stop screen. Let's try again.
Oh, there it
Share
goes.
screen. Select window. Here. Allow.
Yeah, I think it. I
put it up there. You just gotta share it now.
Did it not go through?
No, it's on there. Doesn't he look like Len?
He does.
He looks like Len Kaczynski in this photograph.
Nobody in the missing persons community together on all the levels. Oh, or the piano is really involved in all that. The missing persons community to me is extremely depressing, and actually it gives me a lot of anxiety because I can't, like, if I was my family member was missing, that would kill me.
Yeah,
that's like the worst feeling to me in the world, is not knowing, you know.
But you might just push through it to keep trying to look for answers too, even though it's like killing you inside. You know what I mean? Like, we don't really know what we can say, what we think we're gonna feel when something happens. Until it actually happens, we don't really know.
Right. I think obviously if I had one of my sisters, my parents, my nieces, my nephews, whomever I really care, if you went missing, it would kill me. But I would also, do whatever I can to find you. Like I actually have a friend. I still consider her a friend. She basically disappeared. I think I told you about her, Jinx.
Interesting. You might have. I'm
She
ringing a little bit of a bell, maybe.
she got into drugs and alcohol. The last time I heard, she was basically homeless up in Washington State.
Mm.
And there have been sightings of her every once in a while. I'll have a mutual friend say, "Hey, they think she was found here or there, or whatever, or she was arrested." But for all intents and purposes, she's not considered a missing person because there's no reason to consider her a missing person. She's choosing to stay missing.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you can't just
you can do that, right? Like as an adult, somebody can report you missing. The cop could find you. I was actually watching missing turns into murder or something like that, where they literally thought this woman was dead. They were accusing the son, and what she did was she walked away. And she was found by the police after she walked away, but she didn't want her son to know where she was or anybody else.
Right. We're allowed to
he has
that.
the right to do that. And the cops will come back and say she is alive and she doesn't want to be found.
Right, exactly. That's kind of she's doing her drugs, she's drinking, she's homeless, but if for all intents and purposes, she does not have to tell her family, her sisters, her dad, her anybody where she's at. She doesn't have to.
She's an adult.
And that's kind of, and unfortunately it sucks because, we all care about her and want her to be okay. And I have a painting that a mutual friend of, that I'm friends with, that's also friends with her. He made like this little canvas art thing with a poem she did. So I actually have it on my wall over here. Behind me. I don't know if you guys can see it when I go live sometimes, but back when before she got into the drugs and all that, when we knew her. So but there's nothing we can do about it, I have every once in a while.
Sadly, that puts her in a position and the family in a position because she doesn't want to be found. She's also doing drugs and in a high risk type of lifestyle, let's say, that she could die of an overdose and nobody would ever know. And that's just the sad. And I think that's what happens with some of these these unidentified bodies that we have on NamUs, which is not just the missing people, it's also unidentified, where they didn't want their families to know where they are, and then the families never report them missing because they did, and then she came back and said, I don't want to be found, that they just think she's off living a life or he's living his life, and in reality they were, but something might have happened to them that they're now
her family did go to the police. They said she's missing from us. And they said, well, is she in danger? Was she kidnapped? Was there foul play?
Right.
No, being on drugs and not wanting to communicate with your family. I mean, being on drugs is a crime, but it doesn't consider a missing person.
Not being on drugs, having possession of drugs is a crime.
Having possession of drugs on you is a crime. But you know what I mean? That's just, the police are like, well, there's nothing we can do other than, if we pick her up, we can call her next of kin or whatever that she has permission for us to call.
Right. That's another thing. If they did get picked up by the cops for some reason, they might not even alert their families.
Right. If they don't, they don't
embarrassed.
Huh?
They're probably embarrassed in some way.
The family?
No, her not wanting to tell her parents or her family. She's probably embarrassed by. No one sets out and wants to become a drug addict. That's not life goals. At least not that I know of. So, and then when you become part of that, I'd have to admit that I would have to think that it's hard to admit that you're on drugs to your family and let alone talk about it, because it's an addiction type of thing. So I don't know how I would.
because it's the kind of lifestyle that often goes hand in hand with being homeless and on drugs, so I'm sure
Right.
there's a
Prostitution
lot of
might be
things.
part of that
Yeah,
as well.
exactly. So there's a lot of things she's probably very ashamed of admitting to, but
And she
I
just doesn't
just,
want her family to know. And I don't, I don't see any blame there. I mean, I get it.
yeah, me and like a few friends, like a year or two ago, we did some online sleuthing ourselves, and we had a friend that lives up in that area who went and went around and tried to, because we just want to know she's okay, and I think we got as close to, I got her at the time boyfriend's phone number, who I called, and he basically lied to me. I could hear her in the background, but that's as much as we could do,
Well, then she's
Just
probably telling him, I'm not here. I'm not here. I don't want to talk to
I could
anybody.
hear her in the background. He's like, I don't know who you're talking about. I'm like, well, just tell Laura that her and that.
Maybe it was his other lover. Who knows?
Other Laura. I don't know what that Laura is.
Well, did you hear her? You probably know her voice, so you probably
Yeah,
could
I
hear
heard her. I heard her in the background.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I heard her. So, but that's all we could do in that. It's just, I did enough sleuthing of my own to find his phone number so I could call it. Just,
And at least
we're
you
all
know she's
about her.
alive, right? I mean, because she was in the background.
That was like a couple of years ago.
I think that's what I remember you doing, is calling.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think
remember when
I
you did that.
advice or something too, so. But yeah, that it was, but that's as far as we can get with that. There's nothing else we can do.
Yeah, that's
So, but that's, I do get that in some ways, like it was keeping me up at night, not knowing. And sometimes it does bother me. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if she's still alive out there. I don't know if she's okay. I don't know if she got help. I don't think she got help because she hasn't contacted her sisters.
yeah, that'd probably be one of those steps they would take.
Yeah. So, and much less if it was a child. Oh man.
Well, as sad as this is to say, maybe you should be keeping an eye on that area for Jane Does that end up
I do every once in a while.
overdosing or something like that.
I do every once in a while. I look in.
Because that'd be just sadder if does pass away and she doesn't get claimed for many, 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 many years.
Yeah. Yeah. But I couldn't imagine though, like Linda and Arctic Fox and all the people who dedicate to doing that kind of stuff. I applaud them because it's not easy work to do, and I don't know, like Brendan's stuff is enough for me on heartbreak.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, there's only so much a person can take, in my opinion. But I do think that, there are people who can handle doing all that kind of stuff. I applaud them for that. So,
Well, somebody's got to do it, right? Because not talking about it is good either sometimes,
Right, exactly. It needs to be, especially if it's a missing case. Like, you need to talk.
We need to find them. Or we need to find out who did something to them, or whatever the situation is. Keep talking until they're walking, right?
So Linda put a post on her community wall. Let me go look about the grandmother, because remember I said the grandmother made a post about how she felt about the photos being out.
Oh, so it's about how she felt about the photos being out, not that they were. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. So let me go find it.
And we're back on that Gannon Stotch.
We all go in circles. It all goes in circles. We circle back around. Okay, hold on.
I'll be right back, actually.
Okay. Turn around. Bright eyes. Let me get to. So if you guys want to check out Linda's channel, Checking Convictions, she does have a channel. She talks about all sorts of different stuff, but she's also very missing person oriented, and she does a lot of posts and and stuff involving that. So if you guys would like to check her out, here's the link to her page and give her a sub. And then she makes these really cute videos for other community members. And let's see. So this is what the post that Linda made from AF Pennington. I've heard of this guy too. Let's see if I can post it. Do-do-do-do. 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 Da-da-da-da. Is it going up? Hold on. I was hoping it would pop up just as I was done with that song.
What I miss?
I'm putting I'm trying to share my screen on the community post that Linda made.
Oh, okay.
But it's taking a little bit because my
Internet is slow.
yeah, Linda's an OG researcher for Stephen and Brendan. Jinx is an OG researcher too for Stephen and Brendan.
Yep.
I think Jinx has been in it longer than Linda.
Yep.
Not that it's a competition, but
Linda didn't make it in until like 2018, I think she said.
right. Yeah. And I think you were
pretty long time ago.
17 for you, I think.
I came into the community in 2000 and I watched it 2015. I came into the community in
You're
January.
around time. But I wasn't a researcher. I was just a supporter.
I was just a discusser. We didn't have anything to look at back then. We had MAM, and we had the blog from Convoluted Brian, and I think we had one other blog that I can't even recall the name of it. And we had screenshots, basically, right? And then then I was on Web Sleuths back then. So my first encounter with the community was on Web Sleuths, and there was an old Web Sleuths for her back from November 4th, 2005 for Teresa Hallbach. So like that was like literally all we had to go on.
So really, you were there long before even the documentary, in a way.
Well, no, the documentary came out in, I think it was December 18th, 2015. And then by December 24th or 23rd, my friend's like, I got this thing you got to watch on Netflix. And I'm like, well, I don't got Netflix, so I don't think I'll watch it. And then they're like, it takes place in Manitowoc. And I was like, well, holy shit, that's where my family's from.
Hey, that's my can.
That could be somebody I know. So I found it free online and I watched it that way on a tiny little screen from a pirated site. And
that's funny.
And I watched it I watched it at night, like on I think it was the 23rd or something that he suggested it. And then I watched like 5 episodes, and then I couldn't stop watching it, right? Like but I was so tired. I was like, I got to go to sleep. So I slept for like 3 hours and woke up and watched the other 5 episodes.
Basically what I did it in like a 2-day span the same way. I watched like 5 episodes one day and then 5 episodes the next day, sort of thing. And it wasn't on my actual birthday. It was more like the week after, because my birthday's on the 18th.
Mm-hmm.
So it was more like, I think it was during
Christmas for me. Christmas Eve I finished.
Right. I think it was Christmas vacation for me. Like I was here at my parents' house when I was living in Prescott. I was here for like a couple of days for Christmas. And that's when I watched it. But this is the post that Linda shared on her community channel. I do know who AF Pennington is. I don't know. I don't listen to them a lot, but I know who they are. But I guess this is from the grandmother of from the kid who says, "I'm Ganna's Nana. This is devastating. Why would anyone do this? It's breaking our hearts all over again. If this happened to one of their children, it would not happen. Please let our family find some peace. Our hearts will never be the same. This goes out to all the families that has lost a loved one. Some people don't have a heart, no feelings at all. Please respect our family. This is a nightmare. Please respect us. I just don't understand why anyone would do this."
Yeah, there just doesn't seem to be a just cause in this case. Like I said, it goes case by case. This case seems, book has been closed. It seems pretty. Even the people who are putting this out there seem to think that the person was guilty, and that's what the outcome was. So there would be no reason, in my opinion.
In my, and like, I understand where the grandmother's coming from. And I'm not saying that this is the same as the Making a Murder case, but I do remember Teresa Halbach's friends coming out saying that we should just, leave Teresa alone, let them go on with their lives, and it's hurting the family all over again. And it's like,
but the whole circumstances of Stephen Avery and Teresa Halbach is completely different from this case.
Right, it's different. So that's I understand where the families are coming from, especially this little boy's family. Like, I get it. Yeah. So if this was the woman, if the stepmother, if she was proclaiming her innocence and we were researching into it, then I'd be like, I'm sorry, but we have to look into it, right? But the stepmother is admitting that she did it. The case is closed. There's no reason to look at the autopsy photos, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't see the reason for these autopsy pictures. Yeah. Like I said, I don't really, like I said, I did not pay. I mean, I remember hearing about the case. I remember when it was on the news when they were looking for the boy. And I remember the outcome of the stepmom being accused. And but I didn't watch the trial, so I don't know any of the information from trial. Like I said, I didn't really know that. I had heard she had tried to plead insanity, which means to me she knows she did it and she tried to get off on it, right?
Right.
So like, where it's not like it's a coerced confession or anything like that I've seen.
No,
she actually came out on the news, like worried about her kid.
She like she was missing. Oh yeah, that's right. He's White Rabbit, huh? I remember that. Oh, she's White Rabbit. That's right. I thought it was maybe I'm misthinking of him. Anyway, she came out.
I don't see the reason.
She came out on the news with the whole, we hope we find him, and because she was also being scrutinized, so she was also I hope we find him, and that it shows that I didn't do anything or whatever, and everyone can just leave me alone.
See, on the same note, though, that there would be a double-edged sword. Like let's say she didn't say anything, then it'd be like she's guilty. She had no choice to cover her own ass.
That's a whole other different topic, though, as a matter, of how the media spins things and how people perceive like people grieving. And because, like you said, if she wasn't making statements, then people could say, well, she's guilty. But because why isn't she, making any statements? But if she does make statements, then people judge how she does it anyway. So, I mean, I don't want to to me, it's kind of like the Halbach family. No matter what, if you're looking for something off, then you're going to find it no matter how they are. In my opinion.
And in the Halbach case, we're not really looking at some disfigured, deformed body, right? We're looking at bones. And bones that they gave back to them that they don't even know if they're human or animal. I mean, the Halbach should be questioning that, in my opinion.
No, what I'm saying is that when the Halbachs were in court and they weren't crying or making a scene or anything like that, people were saying like, "Oh, they must be on. They must be."
That's what I'm saying. No matter what you do, you can have people look at you with an opinion.
Exactly. Like that's just it's the same way with Brendan's mom Barb. No matter what she does, whether it's negative or positive, people are going to find something to criticize her for no matter what. Whether she goes to the rally, whether she doesn't go to the rally, whether she makes a statement online, whether she doesn't make a statement, whether she, does this, does that, whatever. Like if people are going to look for something, so I that's how I feel about even with the stepmom in this case, whether she went up to say something or not, if people have it in their head that she's guilty, then it doesn't matter what she says.
Right.
Yeah, we're only seeing clips of that's true too. We're only seeing 5, 10, 15-second snippets of the family in court. We don't see them the whole time there either. So
they could have requested not to show them crying as well. I mean,
well, and the judge tells you too before the beginning of each thing. They say anybody who displays any kind of outburst of emotion will be removed. So if you sit there and you start bawling and crying, and he will ask you to leave.
Yeah.
So you have to sit there and play poker face. It's the same thing with people who sit on who are being
accused.
Accused. If you lawyers will tell their clients, do not show any emotion, look straight ahead, don't smile, don't laugh, don't cry, don't show anger, don't do anything, poker face it,
No reactions.
Yeah, no reacting, because the judge doesn't want
to be so bad at that.
I would too. But then the media takes a picture of you sitting there and they're like, look at this cold, emotionless face of a killer.
Yeah.
Look at this person sitting there as they're showing these photos of the victim and not a single tear or emotion or anything.
Right. Which is what they're told to do.
Which is what they're told to do. It's the same way. So I actually sympathize with Teresa Holbach's family, because we don't know, we know what they were probably told before court, which is don't say anything, don't do anything, don't show any emotion, or else you'll leave. But then you've got 10 years later, people looking at photos of them in court being like, well, if that was my daughter, I would be, I would be screaming and crying and freaking out. So, hey, Susan.
She said she watched this trial.
It was. I never watched it. I'm gonna be honest with you. I only saw that episode on that chapter, and then that was about it with it. So,
yeah, it doesn't seem like there is a reason, Susan. That's my thoughts.
That's
too.
what we basically our opinion around about is that in this particular case, there's no reason to show these kids' autopsy photos, because it's not like you're trying to solve anything.
Especially the one you mentioned. I mean, if you're going to look at them or post them, that one was really inappropriate.
Yeah, no, I think it's very inappropriate. I don't think and that the person who posted those photos, because like I said, the other content creator, the one with the southern accent that told me to sit down back at you, the other one who posted them, he apparently edited out the genitals. Yeah. But the other one, she didn't, and I kind of feel like she could be facing some sort of child pornography charges, maybe. I don't know. I don't know how that works with that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Because if you post a naked child on the internet like that and you charge people to look at it, that could be illegal.
Yeah, that alone, I would think would be. I mean, it is somebody who is no longer alive, but it's still a minor. It's
still pictures of a minor.
A minor's privates that I don't think should have been released at all.
Yeah, so
that's just child porn to me. It's like, why would you put that out there?
also why it makes me feel so gross about it. Like, you're charging people to look at this kid, you know, naked and brutally murdered. Like,
deceased genitals. I mean, what the fuck?
right. Brutally murdered. You know, stabbed like 12 times, you know, like, and head bashed in. Like, this isn't a pretty. Well, I mean, never is, but you know what I mean. Yeah. But, well, it's been an interesting discussion. Thank you, Jinx, for coming up.
You're welcome.
Thank
Glad
you.
I could make it. I was getting my head shrunken.
I appreciate you being here
Therapy's
always.
a good thing, people. Go get some
Right.
if you feel like you're a little nutty, because I know I am.
I know I need to go back. Yeah. You know, and so thank you, Jinx. Thank you, Linda, in chat. Thank you, Mind of Monsters, who was also in chat, who gave her opinion in the beginning. I appreciated everyone's point of views. And while I don't necessarily, I think that those records should have, like the kids' photos should have been sealed. I do understand, though, in a researcher's aspect for other cases, you know, that would be not good to do. But still, it was an interesting discussion, and I'm glad that we had it, because there was a lot of different points that a lot of people made that I didn't realize about it, you know?
Well, until next time.
Yeah, until next time. I will be back tomorrow with more Brendan related content. Morning catch up. Yeah. That thing. Yeah.
Yep.
So thank you all for being here, and I'll see you all later.